Mini Jake, the tribe has spoken.
Fuck you, Kevin.
Aw, fuck you too, sweetie.
I'm JJ, one of the original Tribe of Nerds members. You can catch me on Marvel, Pokemon, and other gaming podcasts.
What up? It's Josh, resident superhero nerd, but I also dabble in the occasional super villain as well.
Some may know me as the Chaos Gremlin, but really I'm just Joe King.
Pikachu, use Volt Tackle! Good job, Pikachu!
On the Tribe of Nerds. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Tribe of Nerds. Michael and I are back for a very unfortunate thing we have to talk about, something that we never thought we'd talk about. You know, Michael and I have covered all 10 seasons of Australian Survivor so far together, and yeah, unfortunately we've lost Jonathan LaPaglia. He was unfortunately fired this past week, and so we're here for the Australian Survivor funeral of JLP, and this is just really, really unfortunate.
Yeah, a metaphorical funeral. His arms are still pumping. He's still going, still looking good. But I think we're all kind of in the same boat with this thing, where it's just so out of left field, and you never really hear anyone complain about Jonathan LaPaglia. Like, he's amazing as a host of Survivor, and we talked about it when we've covered, you know, all 10 seasons that he's done, or 9 going into 10, whatever, and how he grew into the role so much. And when you go back and watch 2016, you see that kind of, like, you know, the Jeff Probst archetype, I guess, and he was pretty much just like Australian Jeff Probst in season 1, and then we saw him like bring his real personality into it, and he just grew and grew into, I'd say, the most well-rounded Survivor host that we have. And yeah, he's just gone. And when I first heard the news, I didn't even give it a second thought. Firstly, it was the Daily Mail, which I don't know if you guys have that over there or an equivalent of that, but Daily Mail famously kind of a rag and not particularly great at breaking news stories and having honesty in their publications. But so I was like, well, that's obviously not true. And then turns out they were right. You know, broken watches right 2 times a day, I guess.
Yeah, I see their articles primarily for Survivor and Australian Survivor, and I wasn't sure what was true, and then I saw Matt Tarrant from season 1, 2016 share it on Twitter, and I was like, oh shit, this is actually true. And then it obviously officially broke. Channel 10 made the announcement, JLP made the post. I'm sure we're gonna get into that, and so I don't know. We'll talk about that, and then we're gonna talk about our official like good memories of JLP, his best moments, and obviously, you know, we'll get to talk a little bit more about JLP when Australia versus the World actually drops. So that will be his last season, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, we're also excited about Australia versus the World, but it's like now turned into this kind of bittersweet season rather than this big celebration. And you know, maybe I'm just you know, holding out hope. I'm still in the denial stage of this grief that maybe this isn't all said and done, and maybe we can fix it, and maybe JLP will be back. Because the outcry, it has to be said, has been huge. Like, people are not happy about this. You mentioned the JLP Instagram post. I've got that here. I'll read out what he said in case people haven't heard it. But I think what's interesting about JLP's Instagram post as well is that it doesn't line up with what Channel 10 is trying to spell the story as. It's like, you know, 10 seasons and he's moving on. It's like, no, this wasn't some harmonious breaking of the bond there. So Jonathan LaPaglia was on Instagram and said, Australian Survivor has seen some of the most epic blindsides over the last 10 years, but this one might be the craziest of them all because it happened to me. I received a call from the network thanking me for all my hard work and dedication to the show, but for the next season, they are going in a different direction, end quote. Ratings had dipped a bit recently and they wanted to do something drastic to shake it up. So for the first time ever, this is not a tribe swap, but a host swap. Yes, you read that right. I wish I could say it before we go to vote. Tonight is a little bit different. No one's going home, but I can't. None of that non-elimination bullshit. Nice little shot there, JLP. Someone is going home, and with no idol in my back pocket, it is that someone is me. I have loved and will dearly miss the immensely talented crew, all the crafty players, and our loyal, sassy audience. I'm a huge fan of this incredible game, always have been, always will be. It has been one of the greatest adventures of my career to helm Australian Survivor, so it is without a doubt the hardest challenge of all to snuff my own torch, but here goes. JLP, the tribe has spoken, but no need to pull out your hankies yet. I'll still be at the helm for Australia versus the world, probably our best season ever. P.S. Whoever said a blindside is the most humane way to put someone down is an idiot. It hurts like a bitch, which is a very interesting reference for JLP to make, given the rumored person taking over the role.
Yeah, so we can get into that, but so I guess apparently it was like ratings and then also budget cuts, I've heard, because I guess Channel 10 has been like cutting back on a lot of their shows. I guess The Project, which was a huge show, they ended that show and it was like their most popular network news show. And so I just think the channel 10 is going downhill. And so like I mean I don't really know the network, but clearly if they're cutting some of the more popular shows, like that's not a good sign.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not super familiar with the project, but I think even more so than Survivor, I think the project is quite a shocking one because that is a big staple of their channel. So I think that is a very telltale sign of the way things are. Also, you know, Talking Tribal was cancelled after it wasn't around for this latest season, right? It ended after Heroes versus Villains. So that's like another branch of Australian Survivor that's gone. But I just don't understand how, unless like JLP is asking for like crazy money or something, but like I don't understand how replacing JLP is the answer to those problems. And we've you know talked around a little bit, but the rumor is that the Golden God David Jenner is the person that is going to be replacing him, and that again just doesn't make sense to me in terms of like playing devil's advocate. If they want to get rid of the host, go in a new direction, and bring someone else in, I don't understand bringing in someone who is already connected to the audience that you have. Like a very small amount of people know David from like anything other than Australian Survivor. Yeah, he was on Deal or No Deal Island, but like US versions of watching the show, like streaming isn't super available, so it's not going to bring in a massive audience. It's like, so if they were trying to do that, like the one person that sprung to mind was when during the pandemic when JLP was unable to get to the finale for the reunion, and they got Osher, who hosted Bachelor over there, to do the host duties. Like if they brought someone in who was something completely removed from Survivor, who has like a fan base outside of Survivor, that maybe you can make the argument that they're going to bring in a new audience. I don't see how David is the answer to that. Oh, I lost my camera.
I was so confused.
Channel 10 is coming for me. Channel 10 is trying to shut me down.
Yeah, I just David taking over. I love David, but I just don't see him as the best replacement for JLP. Like I just don't think anybody can fill JLP's shoes in this at all. Yeah, David's entertaining, but I think I've seen the argument like he's going to kind of take over Tribals and kind of be more like Jeff of like giving himself the screen time, and I can totally see David doing that. Like I love it, but also as a host, I don't think you can do that or need to do that. And Jeff has done that more recently, and that's why US Survivor has not been as great, because I feel like Jeff is making it all about himself. But
yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if it does go that way, like how David transitions into that role. Like, I don't think it's impossible that he's capable of it. Like, he might be able to find that balance and do a good job. But yeah, he's a very you know, people use narcissistic in a negative way, but it's not always. But very, confident. He's a bold person, a very charismatic person, and yeah, I can see people thinking that he's gonna draw that all onto himself, which is what he did in every season of television that he's ever played in, because as a contestant that was his role. But he's got experience in other things outside of just reality TV, so maybe he'd be good. I think the biggest problem for me is just why was it necessary?
Right.
Like, if they're gonna get rid of JLP, like, someone has to take over. I would rather someone host the show than the show goes away, and we're gonna get into that, like what it means for the broader Australian Survivor franchise, going forward. But I just don't see why it was necessary. Everyone loves JLP, and he's so rooted in his role now. And I don't think there's anything about JLP that was not working. Like,
No.
he had it down.
Yeah, he really did. I mean, it took 10 years, 10 seasons. Like, he had everything down pat. Like, yeah, it may have taken him like 2 seasons at first to really get into his role. But once he got through those first couple seasons, and like pretty much from like season 3, I mean, onwards, he's perfect. Like, he knows what he's doing. And like, I don't know. It bothers me that we're losing, like, probably at this point the best host in Survivor franchise history. Like, I get it. I love Jeff, but again, like I said, Jeff has lost his marbles, and like JLP was perfect. Like, so it sucks. And I think we can kind of get into memories a little bit now. I did also want to address David Forrester, the executive producer. He also has left. He did Brains versus Brawn 2, and then I believe he was still involved with Australia versus the World, but then he since departed the show as well. And that is also a huge blow, because you're not only losing the guy who is the perfect host for the show, you're getting rid of the guy who pretty much made the last few seasons of Australian Survivor amazing, particularly Heroes versus Villains and Titans versus Rebels. Like, those are 2 of the best seasons, in my opinion, in just the world of Survivor. And he was a huge part of that. Like, I just can't imagine like any other season doing like as perfectly as David Forrester did with those seasons. So
Yeah, I mean, the optimist in me is like, when David Foster came in, Australian Survivor was great, and then it got better. So maybe there's someone out there with great new ideas that's going to come in and revitalize it, maybe, but it doesn't feel as kind of optimistic as that. And just another, before we get on to memories, like, another sad thing about all this is, like, we've lost Nico, we've lost Survivor South Africa, Survivor UK didn't really get off the ground. And like, now with JLP, and if this doesn't find its feet, like, we can't afford to have Survivor go down to just its core franchise in the US. Like, Australian Survivor is so key to the global success of Survivor, and yeah, it's very concerning, very concerning.
yeah, I like, I don't even know, like, at this point, yeah, we're just going to be down to the US version, really, after Australia versus the World, which is crazy, because I definitely remember the fact that we had like 3 or 4 versions going on at once at one point. Like, it was insane, and now that's all gone. So I don't know.
Give us a bit more free time, but I'd rather have my time filled up with Survivor, to be honest.
Right, true. Yeah, so but yeah, let's get into memories. I mean, I think the best first memory, like, of JLP kicking off this entire franchise is that first episode of 2016 I wanted to bring up, where he literally says at that first tribal council, like, hey, this is my first tribal council as well, we're in this together. Like, that, to me, like, I know it took him a little bit to get into it, but like, that was a great first introduction at a tribal council for JLP to relate to the contestants and just be like, hey, I'm just as new to this as you guys are, so we'll do this together. Like, I thought that was great.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Actually, I didn't think about that one, but to me, honestly, that is like the epitome of who JLP is as a host and why he's so loved is because he is relatable. Like he's way more handsome than anyone else on the planet, so I guess I can't really relate to him, but you know, he does come across as really relatable and just like a friend. And he has that like that mate quality where, as opposed to like an outsider. He's out there with the contestants and he's like part of that camaraderie. Um, I think that's kind of where he was successful as a host, is that it's just impossible not to like him. He's just a likable guy. And especially like as your host, if you don't have that, it's such a big barrier. And he's able to, you know, embrace the audience and have them come into him and hold the show together with his personality and his natural charisma. So yeah, he was that's such a great example of it because that's what made him so perfect, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. What's your first memory, Michael?
Oh, well, I'm torn between there's like two pillars of JLP as host. I'm gonna go for the obvious one that we all love, and it's his dirty sense of humor, his innuendos and his puns. JLP at the challenges. I've spoke many times about on our Survivor content that the challenges and Survivor I don't really care. It's just an added extra. But JLP made me care about the challenges. He made me pay attention to the challenges because he made them funny, he made them interesting, and just busting nut after nut. I've got it in my little
Yes.
hashtag. There was a fantastic one with Simon.
Oh my God.
Simon teasing his ring with his pole, and Simon just saying, "JLP, stop! You've gone too far now." Kalen punishing his log. Like he injected so much fun and humor into those challenges that like nobody else has done. Like Jeff doesn't do that shit.
No, no. I mean, Jeff tries to make some innuendos, but I think the times Jeff makes innuendos is always like, okay, you got the balls on the discs. And like, that's the only time JLP always finds a way to put those into whatever challenge. Like, it doesn't matter.
Like I think Jeff's very good at just like the basic, like narrating the challenge, like doing the basic job. Whereas JLP will like he brings out moments to talk about in these challenges that you wouldn't get on any other version of the show.
No, no, it makes the challenges way more interesting. Like that's another thing. Like Australian Survivor, I feel like I'm more interested in what's going on in the challenges a lot because of JLP, but also like the physical nature of the challenges, how unique a lot of them are compared to ours. And like, I feel like US Survivor, I just don't care as much about the challenges anymore.
Yeah.
So
also another thing on that I think JLP, it's not just JLP, but how Australian Survivor is formatted is it's tribal council as well. Like in the US, I'm not super caught up on the recent seasons. I know they've got longer episodes now, but even going back years, like in the early seasons of Survivor US, tribal council would be like maybe 5 minutes long at the end of an episode. Like sometimes it's literally just a question or two, and then we go to vote. We spend a lot of time with JLP in Australian Survivor. He's there at the challenges, and then every episode of Australian Survivor, you spend 10, 15, 20, some cases 45 minutes at tribal council, with just JLP asking questions, and they really dig down into the game at tribal council. So you do spend that time with him to form an attachment to him. So I like that he's able to be such a big part of the show, maybe more so than any other host is.
yeah, I mean, these tribal council moments, I mean, there's a lot of them, and like even so, like his parting words are always good. Like Jeff does not have the parting words that JLP has that are so funny. Another one of them, Champions versus Contenders 2, the Stephen Bradbury quote where Stephen Bradbury somehow survives a vote, and JLP's like, "Well, Stephen, you skated through another vote tonight."
Yeah, the final words was like going to be when I talked about the two pillars, the final words was like the next one where that's such a huge and that's a purely JLP, thing that he's brought into the show. That's not something that Jeff does, like you said. It's not something Nico does. It's not something Joel did. That is his brand, his identity as host, I guess, that he goes through. And I found a video today of someone stitched together all of his final words throughout all of his seasons, and I never noticed it at the time because it's one an episode, but he starts every single one with "well," and when you watch them all together, it's really funny when he just comes in and goes "well," and then does his line, and "well," does his line. Every single one starts with the word "well," and it's funny when you read it in watch it in sequence. I have a couple of those as well that sprung to mind. Juicy Dave, legend of the Tribe of Nerds. We speak about him more than I think anyone's ever spoken about him. When Dave was voted out, "Tonight you spilt the juice. Time will tell if it was worth the squeeze." Great line. And the iconic George's bloodletting. "You came to tribal in need of a bloodletting, but this tribe might need a transfusion." And it's just a great way to like wrap up the episode and tie it up in a bow. It's just a nice little addition. I love it.
Yeah. There's nothing like that Jeff has ever said. And then George brought it up on JLP's Instagram post in one of the comments that George talked about how JLP let the episode 7 tribal council happen in Heroes versus Villains, and like that's such a pro for JLP because the fact like he just let the players do it, but like he has like just the way he stands there and like lets it I don't know, like it's just you're still like JLP's doing such a great job. I mean, even George like in the tribal council where he's like JLP's running out of time. Like I love everything about that. And then you have JLP's exit line of this villain's tribe is going down in flames. Like it was so good. Like JLP helped make that tribal council as good as it was because Jeff again would have inserted himself into the game and probably been just he probably would have blown something up, honestly, because it's Jeff. So I wouldn't have been surprised.
It'll be Jeff, I promise. But yeah, like, and again, a little moment you mentioned Heroes versus Villains. I remember that they did like a post-credit scene, which you don't often get in Survivor, where Simon throws George's hat into the fire. And it's a lovely little moment of JLP just staring at the hat burning in the fire and just being like, "You might regret that."
Yes.
And what's great about Survivor is it's not a scripted show. You don't know the direction the season's going to go when you're there filming like JLP is. But a little moment like that, it's like you're setting up, like, if the story goes this way, that's a nice little clip we can put in that's going to strengthen the season. And obviously George ended up being a key focus of that season, as with Simon. So that little moment from JLP is something that adds to the larger story between George and George and Simon. And it's just a little thing with him, a tribal that, heightens everything. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't say anything like negative about this guy. Like oh my god, it just sucks all around. Again, I was so looking forward to so many more moments with JLP. I mean, I honestly thought this would be around for like 20 seasons. Like that was my honest thought, because if they kept going on the roll they were going. I mean, I know Brains versus Brawn 2 wasn't like our favorite season, but like there was good stuff in there. So it was a fine season of Survivor. So I don't know. I really thought they would have continued on that roll, and I just feel like the network just stopped them in their tracks before their role could continue.
Yeah, and again, hopefully, that I don't want Survivor to die like ever. So eventually, like Jeff will need to leave. Say, I want the show to continue. So, but yeah, JLP seemed to me someone that he's still young or relatively young. Like he could continue for decades to come and be fine. There was no need to replace him. I think the biggest issue people have is not so much JLP leaving; it's the manner in which it happened.
Yeah,
where it's like I really it leaves such a sour taste in your mouth, where it's just like I can see people just turning on Australian Survivor at this point and be like, nah, I'm done with this show. If that's the way they're going to treat the guy that's been, the figurehead of the show, he's the connective tissue, he's the one constant throughout this franchise. You get different casts every season. JLP's the glue that kind of holds it together, and now it's all kind of up in the air. And yeah, that's scary because we love Australian Survivor. It's fantastic, and I don't want this to be the kind of the first flap of the butterfly's wing that we look back on as the moment that Australian Survivor died. And maybe that's a bit doom and gloom, but I'm just not feeling particularly happy right now.
No, I don't think anybody is. Like, I'd be shocked if anybody was like, "Oh, this is great for the show." No, this
Good
is
news.
terrible. So, I guess last moments for me that I remember as well. I love the bromance between JLP and Nick Iadanza. Like, I feel like Nick gets voted out of season 1, and he's like, "Give me a hug, you big link." I think it's so good. And then even JLP like doing winks and head nods to Luke to go vote like in Luke's seasons. Like, I think that's great. There's just like little moments like that. So also the moment with Lockie and Mark Wales in season 2, and every time the big boys come out and JLP just like has like a man crush, and when Lockie and Mark walk by, it's like the waterside challenge and they're in their underwear and JLP just goes, "Whoa."
Whoa. I love the big boys. Yep. Again, it's like you can see in every single episode of Survivor Australia the enthusiasm and the passion that JLP has for the show. Like, he loves it. And you can't fake that stuff. Like,
Mhm.
maybe you can, like, for a bit, but it's going to become very obvious. And, I think Jeff and JLP, that is something that they both clearly have, which is like a crazy passion for Survivor. They love the franchise. And yeah, to lose someone that does have so much passion for the show, like you're not going to be able to replace that. And I'm sure, David has a lot of passion for Survivor as well, but
Mhm.
it just doesn't feel like the right move. And
No.
and also, like, little thing, like, maybe they can still do it, but this Australia versus the World season that's coming up really felt like maybe the start of like a new champions versus contenders, like the Australian brand season that they do. Like, we could have multiple seasons of Australia versus the world, and this was going to be the start of this brand new era
Yeah.
where Survivor US isn't really doing the returning seasons anymore. They've got 50 coming up, but it's the first one in however many years it's been since 40.
Yeah. 5
Um,
years. Yeah.
yeah,
6 years.
so
Yeah.
like if American players can come over, like we've seen with Sandra and Russell, and and now with this season, like opening the doors to US players coming to Australian Survivor was so exciting, and I hope that we still get that future where we get more of those kind of seasons of the show. But I feel like right now we just don't really know what the future is going to hold for it, and yeah, it's just kind of
Yeah.
sad.
It is. It is. Yeah, I mean, anything else you want to say, Michael? Is I this wasn't going to be a super long episode. We just wanted to
Yeah,
kind of talk about JLP a little bit and give our good memories, and obviously the survivors that we've talked to. If you want to submit memories and like in the comments and whatnot, absolutely do that, because we want to hear all your thoughts as well, because you've been on this podcast for, with us as well over the past year, so we definitely want to get your thoughts on this too.
yeah, and shout out to the there is a change.org petition, like bring back JLP. It's got I think 5,000 signatures last time I checked. Like, if you're not happy about it, like, people, your voice matters, and especially like to a network, they don't really care about anything except metrics. And if their metrics are saying like, oh, maybe this was a mistake, like, who knows? Maybe this can be turned around. It's happened time again. So yeah, if you're really unhappy with it, like we are, like I'm like genuinely upset.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird. I don't know JLP. I love the show, but I was genuinely very upset by this news, and it's sat with me over the last several days because it just sucks. So if
Yeah.
yeah, if you're upset about it, let them hear it. Um,
Yeah.
and
I
yeah,
signed it.
if this is the end if JLP, I know you're a busy man. If you and your inbox is flooded with thousands of messages right now, I'm sure. But if you find your way to this video, thank you for everything you did for Australian Survivor, because there was no one quite like you. And the
Yeah.
arms, the puns, everything. Thank you, JLP.
Yeah, thank you, JLP. I mean, hey, if you find your way to this video and you want to come on, JLP, we'd love to have you on the Tribe of Nerds and talk about everything unfiltered, so, as much as you can. But
Yeah.
um,
NDA for a while, I guess.
yeah. So, yeah, so our plan is us and Austin will hopefully be covering Australia versus the world in about a month. I mean, I don't know. They haven't released a date, so I don't.
It's supposed to be on now.
Yeah, we thought it was June 22nd, and that was just some rumor that got started. So we're hoping by the end of the summer we can be watching Australia versus the world, covering it. I'm assuming that it's going to be a one time a week show for it being a shorter season, but we'll see. But yeah, we'll be excited to cover that. Obviously, we have had connections to a few of the players. We've talked with a few. I've gotten to meet George twice, so very, very excited to cover that with you, Michael and Austin, and we'll have fun with that. It'll be a bittersweet finale to JLP and potentially Australian Survivor, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I'm going to try not to let it dampen my excitement for this upcoming season, because I am super excited about everything Australian Survivor and can't wait to get back into it with you guys. But yeah, bit of a sour note to go into a season on.
Yeah. So tune in. We'll have a draft probably as soon as we know the date, and we can plan when to do our draft with the three of us. And subscribe, like, share, comment. Players, let us know your thoughts, because we know a few of you follow us, and so we'd love to hear your thoughts. And we'll see you all next time on the Tribe of Nerds.